Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're embarking on a journey into a concept that really redefines what we think of as love. It's called love that heals timelines, the sole mission of interracial divine unions. Our mission here in this deep dive is to truly get why certain relationships, especially interracial ones, seem to have a purpose that's, well, bigger than just personal romance. They seem to act as these profound forces for healing collective wounds and maybe surprisingly opening up new possibilities for all of us. Okay, so to start, let's maybe picture this. Love Island, USA, 2025. Nic and Olandria. They're having this quiet moment late night under the stars in Fiji, just holding hands, and the internet just explodes. You had most viewers cheering, hashtag Nic Olandria, just thrilled by their gentle, real connection. But then you also saw this surprising scorn, like really strong negativity, even people saying it was just fan service. That contrast is, well, it's fascinating, isn't it? Why do some couples pull at our hearts so deeply while others seem to provoke such attacks?
Yet what you're seeing there, really, it's a perfect example of what some call a divine union.
Hmm.
These aren't just partnerships in the usual sense. They're relationships where the love itself seems to serve something beyond the two people involved. You can almost think of it like they hold a frequency.
Hmm.
Their harmony, just them being together, emits this beneficial energy that ripples outwards.
Wow, hold a frequency. That's a powerful idea. So, okay, why is this type of love so different? And what does it actually do, on a deeper level for the world?
That's a great question. Because a divine union really does operate on a different, often higher frequency compared to, say, an everyday romance. It's not quite like what some traditions call karmic partnerships, which tend to be more about sorting out personal lessons or maybe past life stuff. Divine unions feel inherently purposeful. Yes, the couple grows spiritually, absolutely, but the real impact, it stretches out to the collective. And this is exactly where interracial divine unions become particularly potent, almost like a kind of planetary medicine. First off, they bridge ancestral trauma lines. Just think about it. Every interracial couple connects family lines, lineages that might carry really painful histories between them. Echoes of slavery, colonization, caste systems, things like that. Their love, quite literally, forms an energetic pathway, a bridge, if you will, for reconciliation between those old stories. It's actually quite striking. Over a century ago, Abdu'l-Baha, the Baha'i leader, he didn't just encourage racial intermarriage. He specifically prayed for one couple to become the signs of unity and harmony until the end of time. That's a vision of healing that spans generations.
So their very existence, just them being together, creates a pathway for healing past wounds. That's incredibly profound.
It really is. And second, they actively work to dissolve polarity and social divisions. An interracial union is, well, it's a living, breathing example of oneness, a physical embodiment of unity. Think back to the 1950s in the U.S. It's hard to imagine now, but something like 95% of white Americans disapproved of interracial marriage. A lot of that was driven by fear, fears about mixing blood, losing social standing.
Right, deeply ingrained stuff.
Exactly. So in that kind of climate, just the sight of a black and white couple who were married, that was genuinely paradigm-shattering. Even today, these couples send this powerful message into our often very polarized world, that love fundamentally dissolves separation. They are, in a way, walking meditations on unity. And third, they broadcast this energy of unity into the collective consciousness. When an interracial couple walks down the street, people feel something. For those with open hearts, it might be inspiration, hope, a little reminder that love can overcome all that conditioning. But even for those who react negatively, they're still engaging with that energy of unity, even if it's through resistance.
Oh, okay. So even the resistance is part of the process.
Absolutely. It's like these unions introduce a new vibration into the collective field. They create new possibilities energetically for others to break free from their own prejudices. Racism has been called, America's most challenging issue. You could see each interracial divine union as a kind of medicine pill, dropped subtly into the collective bloodstream, slowly working to heal that illusion of separation.
A medicine pill for the collective. That's a really vivid image.
Sure.
It makes sense then that these partners, whether they fully realize it or not, often feel like they were brought together by fate. Like they sense their love is serving something bigger. It's not just for them, it's somehow helping heal the world. And this is where it gets really interesting, isn't it? These aren't just romances, they feel like missions of unity. And this isn't just happening now either. Looking back through history, you find these courageous couples who seem to emerge as, what did you call them? Timeless frequency holders?
Exactly. Individuals who helped mend collective wounds across different eras.
So let's dive into some of those historical trailblazers, see how their relationships reflected and maybe even helped shift the world around them.
Okay, let's go way back. roughly 1400 BCE Sinai Desert. We're talking about Moses and the Cushite wife. The resonance here is what you might call a sacred precedent of unity. In the biblical story, Moses, the great lawgiver himself, marries a Cushite woman.
Cushite meaning Ethiopian, or from that region.
Generally understood as from Cush, likely Ethiopia or that part of Africa, yes. So this union is presented as divinely okayed, crossing major tribal lines. And the collective wound it touched, deep tribal prejudice, spiritual exclusivity. The Hebrews were generally discouraged from marrying outside their group, but what's really striking is the reaction. When Moses' own sister, Miriam, speaks out against the marriage, God intervenes, punishes her with leprosy.
Wow, that's a strong message.
A very strong message. It showed divine disapproval of that kind of criticism, essentially saying God doesn't play favorites based on tribe or skin color. And why did this touch the world? Well, it's a foundational story in Judeo-Christian tradition. It gives a scriptural basis, a really powerful one, to argue against racism and insularity. It shows that spiritual leadership and interracial love aren't just compatible, they can be intertwined by divine will. What the reaction revealed? Well, Miriam's outburst and her punishment, her skin turning white as snow with leprosy, it symbolically showed that racism, even just gossip or judgment, was seen as so. Repugnant to the divine order, it actually stalled the entire community's journey forward.
Like a roadblock caused by prejudice.
Exactly. A clear sign that old biases had to be dealt with before they can move on.
Okay, from the desert sands to palace grandeur, let's move forward to around 950 BCE, King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba.
Yes. Their union resonates as wisdom meets diversity, royal unity. This legendary meeting, often linked with Queen Makeda from Ethiopia or Saba, it symbolized two great cultures, African and Semitic, coming together. It wasn't just politics. It was this harmonious exchange of gifts, knowledge, and, importantly, love. Many traditions even say they had a child.
Representing that cultural fusion.
Precisely, a fertile blending. And the collective wound they helped heal, that deep-seated cultural mistrust, religious division. Their meeting showed this incredible mutual respect between different races, different religions. It demonstrated that wisdom and love can, transcend belief systems. Later on, people even saw their connection allegorically as the union of Israel and the Gentile world, healing that big divide.
Why did they touch the world so much?
Well, they're sometimes called the original interracial multicultural couple with a mixed kid and a long-distance relationship.
That puts a modern spin on it.
It does, but it captures it, right? Their love exemplifies bridging borders. Ethiopia, for instance, claims direct royal descent from this union, an entire national identity founded on this interracial heritage. It's huge, a grand love alliance. Now, the reaction, it's interesting. Ancient texts often show welcome. But later, some rabbinical commentary started casting it negatively, fantasizing about a demonic offspring like Nebuchadnezzar as a sort of warning against mixing blood.
So revealing those underlying fears again.
Exactly, projecting anxieties. But conversely, the enduring fascination with Sheba, especially in the African diaspora, shows this powerful desire to see strong black figures within Scripture. So you see that split perspective again.
Right. Okay, let's jump way forward now. A really pivotal moment in American history. 1958, Virginia. Mildred Jeter and Richard Loving. Their name, Loving, just seems so perfect, doesn't it?
It really does. Prophetic, almost. Their love resonated as lawful love, bridge of justice. Mildred, who was black and Native American, and Richard, a white man. They embodied this quiet, incredibly steadfast love. And that love directly challenged and ultimately brought down an unjust law. Their story literally transformed love against the law into love changes the law.
And they weren't trying to be activists, were they?
Not in the usual sense, no. They were just a couple who were deeply in love and wanted to be together. And that simple, pure intention gave their union immense power.
The collective wound they helped heal was enormous. Legalized racism in marriage, anti-miscegenation laws. Their arrest in 1958, just for being married and living in Virginia, exposed the cruelty and absurdity of those laws. And their fight, their courage, led straight to the landmark 1967 Supreme Court case, Loving v. Virginia, which struck down all such bans nationwide.
Wow, so their marriage literally healed that legal wound. It did. It invalidated those laws that had harmed countless families, and why they touched the world. The Lovings changed America without ever really seeking the spotlight. Mildred famously said, "We weren't doing it to make a statement. We were doing it to be together."
Yeah.
That genuineness had a monumental impact.
It really did forever change the landscape of marriage in the U.S.
And Loving Day, June 12th, is celebrated every year. Now, by 2025, I think the statistic is something like over 1 in 6 new marriages in America are interracial. It's a direct, beautiful legacy of their quiet courage.
Amazing. But the reaction at the time.
Oh, extremely polarized.
Mhm.
A perfect mirror of America's racial tensions then.
Yeah.
The judge who sentenced them actually claimed God put races on different continents to keep them separate.
Unbelievable.
Shows you the depth of that prejudice. They faced exile, being shunned, but they also had support. Friends, civil rights leaders, the ACLU lawyers. And Richard Loving's simple, powerful message to the court, tell the court I love my wife. It
Yeah.
shamed the nation, didn't it?
It really did.
Yeah. It forced a confrontation with bias and ultimately led to this profound triumph of justice. It revealed both the ugliness of systemic racism and the incredible resilience of love.
Okay, now let's cross the ocean. 1948. Spanning Bechuanaland, modern Botswana, and London, the story of Seretse Khama and Ruth Williams. This one actually forged a nation.
That's right. Their love resonated as sovereign love, a united kingdom. Seretse, an African prince, heir to the throne of the Bamangwato people, and Ruth, a white Englishwoman. They represented this regal balance, a powerful coming together of black and white, Africa and Europe, as equal partners. They really were the kingdom builders. Their relationship set the tone for Botswana's future as a peaceful, multiracial society.
And the wound they healed.
Colonial apartheid and also tribalism.
Right.
Their union flew in the face of white supremacist ideas, especially with apartheid becoming official policy right next door in South Africa. But it also helped Botswana internally reject tribal xenophobia, paving the way for it to become one of Africa's most stable and successful non-racial democracies.
Their story became quite famous, didn't it? A marriage of inconvenience.
Absolutely. It was a global sensation.
Yeah.
They faced exile, betrayal by powerful governments like Britain. It really humanized the struggle against racism on a world stage. And when Botswana finally gained independence in 1966, Seretse became president, Ruth, the first lady. That sent a huge message.
That a country could thrive on interracial unity.
Exactly. Botswana's success today is often traced back to that foundation of harmony laid by their marriage. Now, the reaction, intense backlash from the British government, who were worried about relations with apartheid South Africa. Initial opposition from Seretse's own family, too. It brutally exposed, as you said, the rotten core of colonial racism and political maneuvering.
But the people supported them eventually.
Crucially, yes. The Bamangwato tribe overwhelmingly reaffirmed Seretse's leadership with Ruth by his side. It showed that while governments clung to racism, the people's hearts could be more open.
A powerful contrast.
It's a very powerful contrast. Their ultimate victory was a big turning point. Proved that love really can expose injustice.
Okay, from building nations to building faith. Let's look at Louis George Gregory and Louisa Matthew. They married in 1912, New York City.
Yes, their union resonated as cultural light-bearers, unity pioneers. Louis was a prominent African-American lawyer and speaker, Louisa a white British woman. They met through the Baha'i faith. And theirs was the first interracial Baha'i marriage, personally encouraged by Abdul-Baha, the leader of the faith at the time. So their marriage wasn't just personal, it was deeply tied to a spiritual mission, demonstrating the oneness of humanity.
What wound did they address?
Well, pervasive scientific racism, the pseudoscience about race mixing, and also segregation within faith communities themselves. Even within the Baha'i community, which taught unity, there was still informal segregation. Their marriage boldly flouted those norms. It directly challenged those divisions. And their impact. Within the Baha'i world, they became almost legendary figures. Abdul-Baha called their marriage an introduction to the accomplishment of harmony between the races. They mentored other interracial couples, kind of served as prototypes for an interracial power couple working for social justice, showing that humanity is one family. Louis Gregory's influence as a speaker was definitely amplified by the example he set with his marriage.
What kind of reaction did they face?
A real mix. Awe from some, curiosity, but also outright hostility. They had to get married in New York because it was illegal in D.C., where Louis lived. And Louisa often couldn't travel safely with Louis in the segregated South. They faced threats.
Yet they persevered.
They did. Their determination really showcased the power of faith combined with love. They eventually became revered elders in the community, proving that personal contact dispels prejudice. Their love laid important groundwork for integration.
All right, let's add a touch of Hollywood glamour now. 1957, California. Harry Belafonte and Julie Robinson.
Ah, yes. Their love had this resonance of Hollywood light and shadow barrier breakers. Harry Belafonte, this huge black singer and actor, a real heartthrob, and Julie Robinson, a white Jewish dancer. They married right in the thick of 1950s Hollywood constraints. Their union wasn't just celebrity gossip, it felt like a glamorous act of defiance, refusing to bow to racial codes under that intense spotlight, symbolizing artistic unity.
And the wound. Hollywood's own hypocrisy.
Exactly. Deep entertainment industry hypocrisy and a real lack of representation. Hollywood systematically avoided showing interracial romance on screen. The production code, fear of Southern boycotts. Their high-profile marriage forced the industry to confront its own prejudices. It also touched on tensions within the black community about marrying out. Belafonte was clear. He married for love, period.
How did they touch the world?
Well, Belafonte was a massive star. His marriage generated intense public interest. By not being overly political about it, just living their lives, they became quietly but really influential. They helped normalize interracial love in pop culture. His film Island in the Sun from 1957 hinted at interracial romance, even with censorship trying to water it down, and it made a lot of money.
Suggesting audiences maybe weren't as shocked as the studios feared.
Precisely. It played a significant role in making black-white love seem less taboo to mainstream America. The reaction, though, Hollywood producers were definitely worried about the financial risk. They kept the wedding secret initially. Belafonte got hate mail, faced disapproval from some whites, but also, interestingly, from some black people, too.
Revealing those complex layers of prejudice again.
Exactly. The criticism from parts of the black community showed that internalized wound. But ultimately, their successful, loving marriage proved something important. Bigotry thrives on silence and fear. When confronted with real, successful examples of interracial love, its arguments just start to crumble.
And finally, a story that's just astounding, emerging from the ashes of World War II. Eleanor Powell and Frederick Albert, an African-American U.S. Army nurse and a German POW.
Yes, their love resonates as enemies to eternity healing the war. Eleanor, the nurse, Frederick, the German prisoner of war she cared for. Their union embodies this transcendent forgiveness. They really were the peacemakers of the heart, binding two supposed enemies in lifelong love. It's just a quantum leap in consciousness, especially coming out of a world war filled with so much hate.
The collective wound here is so clear. Wartime hatred, dehumanization.
Absolutely. Their love defied Nazi ideology, obviously, but also American racism. Remember, black soldiers often faced terrible treatment, sometimes worse than German POWs. So their love was this profound reweaving of karma. Frederick confronting the evil of the regime he fought for, and them finding love across those immense divides. They had to marry in New York, too, because it was illegal elsewhere, almost 2 decades before Loving v. Virginia.
How has their story touched the world? It seems more recently publicized.
It is, and it's extraordinarily heartwarming and instructive. It just affirms that love really can bloom in the most unlikely hostile places. They stayed together over 50 years. They offer this concrete blueprint for reconciliation. If a black war nurse and a German soldier could overcome that much division, national enmity, racial hatred, maybe any divide can be overcome.
Such a powerful message of peace.
It really is.
Yeah.
Now, the reaction they faced, initially, they had to hide their romance on the base. After the war, Eleanor faced terrible prejudice back home as a single black mother with a German child. In the U.S., they struggled to rent housing due to both racism and xenophobia against Germans. In Germany, Frederick's own mother treated Eleanor with cruel racism.
Yet they didn't turn on each other.
No, and that's crucial. It strengthened their bond. Their survival, their thriving despite all that, powerfully illustrates how true love exposes injustice. And the way their story is viewed now, celebrated widely, shows that arc of moral progress.
Okay, so weaving all this together, this incredible tapestry of history, what does it mean for us today? We started with Nic and Olandria from Love Island. How do they fit into this larger pattern?
Nic and Olandria, yeah, from Love Island, USA 2025. You can really see them as modern timeline braiders. Their context, the 2020s, it's a time of really charged racial polarization, but also sometimes a kind of shallow, almost performative unity. Their quiet, patient, genuinely authentic love acted as a kind of antidote to both extremes. They weren't putting on a show of healing. They were simply living a new template, modeling a real, approachable form of interracial love that resonated way beyond the TV screen. And the significance of the reactions to them is really telling. Most of you who celebrated them felt genuinely inspired.
Tapping into that collective yearning for unity you mentioned.
Exactly. Validating that the sincerity and cross-cultural understanding can thrive. But then you had that minority who reacted with such surprising vitriol. Posts like, seeing Nic and Olandria as a couple is so infuriating, get them off. I mean, that's shocking, right? But what's fascinating, psychologically perhaps, is that this intense negativity often points to what we could call unresolved wounding. It might be unconscious racial bias surfacing. It could be envy. It could even be feelings of betrayal, maybe from someone within their own community. Often what we condemn so irrationally in others is something we haven't quite healed or accepted in ourselves. So Nic and Olandria became this powerful mirror, inviting everyone, supporters and haters alike, to look at their own conditioning.
Asking us if we can witness without projecting our own stuff onto them.
Exactly. Can we witness with reverence? That's the challenge. And just one more point on them. How they navigated reality TV. They stayed remarkably true to their vibe, especially Olandria's caution around intimacy, which some people didn't get. But it actually modeled a different kind of template for relationships in the media. One based on patience, real connection, depth, courageously going slow in a fast world.
That's a great point about their authenticity. Okay, so looking across all these stories, ancient kings, modern reality stars, this pattern really does emerge clearly. What are those common threads that define this divine union archetype across the centuries?
Yeah, the patterns are quite striking. First, these couples almost always formed during periods of intense social tension. It's like their souls chose the perfect pressure cooker moments. Jim Crow, apartheid, WWII, civil rights, our current racial reckoning for their unions to have the biggest impact. By loving each other in those hostile environments, they generated this incredibly powerful, transforming energy, demonstrated resilience, courage. Second, they visibly activated conversations about race, love, and freedom. None of them could just fly under the radar, could they?
No, their very existence was a statement.
Right. Their love became this visible catalyst. It forced communities, sometimes the whole world, to confront uncomfortable truths in courtrooms, newspapers, churches, online forums. Their presence pushed society to look at its biases. Third, it seems they inherently held both celebration and backlash as part of their purpose. That polarized reaction is so consistent. Heartfelt support right alongside harsh opposition. It's like these couples were energetic anchors, designed to withstand that negativity, maybe even transmute it.
Carrying both the bouquet and the brickbats, as the outline put it.
Exactly. Experiencing both appreciation and criticism. That split often signals that a deep healing process is underway, bringing both high and low vibrations to the surface for everyone to see. And fourth, they functioned as energetic anchors, not just romantic figures. They often seem to know, intuitively, that their love was bigger than just them. They displayed this humility, this sense of purpose, like Mildred Loving supporting everyone's right to marry, or Suretsi Kama, whose marriage literally shaped national policy. Their relationships created a kind of safe space around them, where others, maybe even those who initially opposed them, could start to reconcile their own views.
Like a campfire drawing people closer on a divisive night. That's a powerful image. It really is.
Okay, so let's bring this home to the listener. If you've ever found yourself tearing up seeing an interracial couple, or maybe on the flip side, felt a twinge of discomfort, maybe even anger, you're definitely not alone. And there's real meaning in that reaction, right? Absolutely there is. For those who feel that uplift, that inspiration, maybe even tears, that's often a powerful sign of soul-level recognition. It's like your deeper self confirming this truth. Love is our destiny. Unity is where humanity is headed. It's that feeling of aching beauty. An invitation, really, to open your own heart wider, to transcend superficial barriers in your own life and relationships. It's a gift reminding us of our oneness. Now, for those other reactions, the lower vibration ones, anger, mockery, maybe sadness or unease, these usually point to unhealed hurt. For instance, maybe a black woman feels a pang of rejection if she's seen successful black men predominantly choose white partners in media or her experience. Or a white man might feel threatened if he was raised with ideas about racial purity. People from historically oppressed groups might feel a sense of betrayal. Cultural conditioning runs deep. An interracial union can feel like it's attacking the very foundation of someone's worldview, triggering fear. But here's the key. That hurt, that discomfort, reveals exactly where healing is needed. You know the saying, pain that is not transformed is transmitted. These couples, just by loving each other, act like flashlights. They shine a light into those dark corners of our collective psyche, our personal psyche. And that prompts growth. It challenges biases. Even positive emotions can have a little sting. Sometimes maybe realizing you've settled for less in your own life. But that too can be a gift if it spurs you towards something better. Witnessing them invites us all into our own healing. So what do all these stories, kings, commoners, reality stars, war-torn lovers, what do they ultimately ask of us? Us, the witnesses. Well, first, I think they ask us to witness with reverence, not projection. Try to see them simply as two individuals who found a home in each other. Honor their love on its own terms without layering our immediate interpretations or biases onto them. That mindful witnessing is a powerful act of respect. Second, they invite us to reflect on our own unconscious conditioning. Let's be honest, every single one of us has likely inherited some biases, some blind spots from our upbringing, from society, from media. Maybe you notice a subtle discomfort. Maybe you realize you rarely pictured certain groups together romantically because you never saw it growing up.
So pause and examine that feeling.
Exactly. Ask yourself, where did that come from? Is that really me, or is it just something I was told, something I absorbed? It's humbling, but it's also incredibly freeing. It expands your world. And finally, maybe the most profound invitation is to ask ourselves, what timeline am I here to heal through love? What does that mean for you personally? Your own relationships, how you express love. They can be powerful vehicles for healing something beyond just you. Maybe it's healing gender divides in your family history. Maybe it's bridging religious splits in your community. Maybe it's breaking cycles of abuse or misunderstanding.
You don't have to set out to be a hero.
Not at all. Just by staying true to love, to integrity in your own life, you often find yourself doing exactly that kind of healing work, maybe without even realizing it initially.
It's like you said earlier about the map. Every time unity is forged where there was division, that old map, the one with all the hard borders and no-go zones, it just becomes obsolete, doesn't it? A new map emerges. More connections, more open roads,
Yeah,
more unified territory.
exactly. Imagine people looking back at our time, centuries from now. They might say, that was when humans finally started to really heal the illusion of separation. That was when more and more souls got brave enough to love beyond borders and the world started knitting itself back together. These couples we've talked about, they'll be like constellations in that historical sky, points of light guiding the way forward.
So ultimately, their love asks of us what? Love itself, with a capital L, asks of us. Grow beyond fear. Include rather than exclude. Trust that every human heart is capable of communion. It asks us to carry that healing forward in our own relationships, our families, our communities, so that one day, maybe not even too far off, the phrase interracial couple just won't carry any weight. They'll just be couples. No qualifier needed. As normal, as accepted as any other kind of love. That'll be the day the timelines are truly healed, right? The mission complete. In the meantime, whenever we see two souls crossing those lines, drawing that new map, let's try to honor them. They're helping write a story where love truly does conquer all, not by force, but by unity. And every time we cheer them on, or maybe pause to examine ourselves because of them, we're writing that story too, with our very lives.